What's up guys, today we're going to be ranking Chuck E. Cheese animatronic stages. If you don't know what a tier list is, it's pretty much just a way of ranking things. The top layers on the list are good, and the farther down you go, the worse they get. I'm not going to be including any of the Rock-afire explosion test stages or Brian Hagen 3-stage mods in this video because we already have so many stages to go over and it'll just run us out of time. Also, keep in mind, these are my own personal opinions. If you don't agree, let me know in the comments below. Before I start the video, I noticed over 85% of you aren't subscribed, so go hit that subscribe button if you want to help me out. Thanks. As I go over each stage, I'll sort of give a brief explanation as to what each stage is, but without further ado, let's get started. Starting off with the 1 stage, I'm going to go ahead and put this stage in A tier. The 1 stage is an animatronic show Chuck E. Cheese created in 1992 to take up less space. It features cyberamic versions of Chucky, Helen, Munch, Jasper, and Pasquale. The stage is nice and colorful and has working curtains, so this is why I'm going to go ahead and put it in A tier. Next up is the Circle of Lights with 60 movement bot. I'm going to put this stage in C tier. The Circle of Lights stage with 60 movement bot is pretty much a wall with circles on it that light up, and has a 60 movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic, which isn't really that impressive, so that's why it's going in C tier. Next up is the 2015 Chucky Live stage. I'm going to go ahead and probably put this in D tier. The 2015 Chucky Live stage is pretty much a dance floor, 6 TVs hanging from the ceiling, and some light up posters. I would have put this in F tier because there's no animatronic or really much entertainment, but it's better than the later versions, so I'll give it a break. Next up is the Shelf stage, and this one is a classic. It's going straight to S tier. This stage is similar to the portrait stage that we'll talk about later, but pretty much it features cyberamic versions of all the Chuck E. Cheese characters, and they're in front of portraits. There's also some other props on this stage, and most early Chuck E. Cheese locations had this version of the stage, making it very classic and iconic. Next up is the prototype Studio C Kappa, and I'm going to put this one in B tier. I actually don't think this stage is too bad. All of them used to feature a working blue screen, and the background behind Chucky has this really cool look to it that I seem to enjoy. The animatronic is a normal 16 movement Chucky figure by Garner Holt Productions. Next we have the Galaxy stage, and I'm just gonna tell you, it's going straight to S tier. The Galaxy stage was a test stage created in 2011 and was themed to space and featured a 16 movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. I think this stage looks amazing, and I wish there was more than just one made. This concept would later be reworked into Circle of Lights. Now we have the Awesome Adventure Machine. I think I'm gonna put this one in A tier. The Awesome Adventure Machine was created in 1996 and was another one-off test stage. It only featured Chucky and none of the other characters and was the first stage to do this, and had 2 big monitors and a bunch of elements and details on the stage that are kinda hard to see, but look cool. It was also a technician's nightmare, which is probably why only one was made. This concept would later be reworked into Studio C. Next up we have the Studio C Alpha Beta Mix, and it's going straight to S tier. The Studio C Alpha Beta Mix was a test stage Chuck E. Cheese did in 2000 and installed in 6 locations. It featured a 32 movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic, which was really impressive, a bird animatronic, a unique backdrop, a blue screen, and a unique TV setup along with working curtains. Next up is the Balcony stage, and this may upset some people, but I'm gonna put this one in B tier. The Balcony stage was created in 1980 once more Pizza Time theaters started opening. It featured all 5 main characters as cyberamic animatronics along with other stage props, and they were half-body characters, meaning they only had their waists and up. Next one is the 3 stage, and this one's going straight up to S tier. The 3 stage was created in 1989 as a way to eliminate the Rock-afire explosion from all showbiz pizzas. It pretty much took the Rock-afire explosion robots and changed them into the Chuck E. Cheese characters on 3 stages, which is why it's called the 3 stage. This stage has become very iconic in the Chuck E. Cheese community, and many people seem to agree that it's the best stage of all time. Next is the Studio C Kappa Beta Mix, and I'm going to put this one in C tier. This version of the Studio C Kappa was created sometime between 2003 and 2004 and was like all the other Studio C Kappas except it featured a beta backdrop on the stage and originally had a blue screen. This stage also had working curtains unlike the other Kappas and featured a 16-movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. Next is the Unique 1 stage, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in A tier. The Unique 1 stage was created in 1993 and only installed at one location. It was like the other 1 stages except it featured unique props on the stage and was a prototype for the later 1 stage. Next up is the Circle of Lights 32 movement version, and I'm going to put this one in S tier. This stage was created in 2012 and features an awesome and impressive 32 movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic, along with a colorful wall that lights up to shows. Then we have the Rock-afire explosion, and I'm going to go ahead and put this one in S tier too. The Rock-afire explosion was the animatronic band created for Showbiz Pizza Place and was featured in their locations from 1980 to 1992. It featured all the iconic Showbiz characters that were on 3 different stages. This show is widely considered the best animatronic band of all time. Next is the Road stage, and I'm going to put this one in B tier. The Road stage was created in 1990 and features all the characters as cyberamic animatronics once again. It features a full-body Chucky, and the rest of the characters are half-bodied, and sometimes the animatronics on the stage can look a little creepy. Next we have Circle of Lights with no bot, and I'm going to put this one in D tier. This stage features the light-up wall with no Chucky animatronic, and it also has the posters, so I guess there is at least some form of entertainment, but it's really lacking with no bot. Next up is the 2 stage, and this one is going to upset some people I'm sure, but it's going in B tier. The 2 stage was created in 1992, and once again featured all the Chuck E. Cheese characters in cyberamic form. The stage just looks kinda bland to me, the buildings don't really have much color and the props are just lacking, so that's why I put it in B tier. This should be obvious, but it's called the 2 stage because Chucky is on a stage and the other band members are on another stage, making it 2 stages. Now we have the Studio C Beta 32 movement, and this one is also going in B tier. This stage was created in 2000 and was pretty much just a less detailed Studio C, although I still find it sorta cool since this version had a cool 32 movement Chucky animatronic, along with a blue screen. Next we have the Unique Studio C Alpha Beta Mix, and this one's going straight to S tier. The Unique Studio C Alpha Beta Mix was introduced in 2001 and was installed at only the Jeddah, Saudi Arabia location. It featured the Alpha Beta Mix stage, but with a pizza phone, interactive consoles, and 2 blue screens. Next is the Mini Rock-afire explosion, and I'll give this one B tier at best. This stage was a downsized version of the Rock-afire explosion, and only featured Mitzi, Fats, Billy Bob, and Looney Bird all on one stage. It's kinda lacking, but it's interesting. It was only installed at a few locations. Then we have the Unique Studio C Alpha, and I'm definitely giving this one S tier. This stage was introduced in 1999 and had many things in common with the normal Studio C Alpha, which we'll talk about later. But instead of gutting the Rock-afire explosion and just placing the Studio C Alpha where it used to be, they actually placed the stage on one of the former stages from the Rock-afire explosion. The stage also featured a 32 movement Chucky bot, the interactive console, and the blue screen like other Studio C Alphas, along with other props. Next up is the Portrait stage, and I'll give this one A tier. The Portrait stage was introduced in 1977 with the first Chuck E. Cheese's grand opening. It featured unique animatronics that were custom built and put inside frames on the wall. Being the first set of Chuck E. Cheese animatronics made, they were very hard to fix, and it didn't help that they were very high off the floor. Next up we have the 1 stage with 2 stage props. I put this one in B tier because there's nothing really unique about it, it's just like the other 1 stages except it features the 2 stage backdrops and props. Up next we have the Family Album, and this one's going straight down to D tier. The Family Album was an animatronic puppet-like set of human characters that Chuck E. Cheese used in the mid-80s to cut costs on shows. You see, when the company went bankrupt in 1984, they had trouble keeping up production on animatronic shows, so oftentimes they would use these guys instead. They're just really unsettling. Next we have the Studio C Alpha, and this is another one that's going straight into S tier. The Studio C Alpha was created in 1997 and the first Studio C stage made by Chuck E. Cheese. It featured a 32-movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic along with a pizza time clock, bird, interactive console, and a blue screen along with monitors around the showroom. Next we have the Studio C Beta 16 movement. I'm going to put this one in C tier. The Studio C Beta 16 movement was introduced in 2003 and is sort of similar to the Studio C Beta 32 movement I mentioned earlier. It had a blue screen and a few TVs, except it featured a much less impressive 16 movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. It was also the most common version of Studio C ever made. Next up we have the C stage, and I love this one. It's going in S tier. The C stage was introduced around 1989 and featured half-bodied cyberamic versions of all the Chuck E. Cheese characters, and it looked like they were all hanging out inside a house, which I think looks really cool, and the stage also had really good lighting. Next we have the Rocker stage, and I'm going to put this one in A tier. The Rocker stage was another house-themed Chuck E. Cheese stage, except this time some of the characters were full-bodied instead of half-bodied, and they were once again cyberamic animatronics. The lighting on the stage also wasn't really that good, so that's why it's going in A tier. But it was a pretty iconic stage and was mostly good. Now we have the Studio C Kappa, and I'm going to give this one C tier. The Studio C Kappa was introduced in 2003 and was pretty much just a downgraded Studio C Beta meant for smaller locations. It featured the same 16-movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic, less props on the stage, no curtains, and a blue screen. Next we have the Concept Unification 1 stage, and I'm going to put this one in A tier. The Concept Unification 1 stage, or usually shortened as CU1 stage, was a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic show that reused the 3-stage animatronics, but instead put them all on one stage. It was introduced in 2010 and only installed in 3 locations. Next up we have the modern version of 2.0, and this is going straight down into F tier. This thing was introduced in 2021 and is an updated version of what we'll talk about next, but it's literally just a video wall and a dance floor, and it all looks awful, so that's why it's in F tier. Next we have the 2017 version of 2.0, and this one's even lucky I'm putting it in D tier. This disaster was introduced in 2017 and features a dance floor, a wall, and 6 TVs on the ceiling. I would have given this one F tier, but it's maybe slightly less lazy than the 2021 version, so that's why it's in D tier. Next we have the Star Stage, and this one's going in S tier even though we're kind of running out of room. The Star Stage was a test stage introduced in 2010 at one location, and I have to say it looks awesome. It featured the impressive 32-movement Chuck E. Cheese animatronic, 2D versions of Pasquale and the Singing Flowers, and many other cool stage props. Lastly, we have the Studio 3 stage. I'm going to give this one B tier. This stage was introduced in 2020 and I think is actually really resourceful. You see, there was a 3 stage that was in disrepair, and instead of just gutting it for 2.0, they removed the 3 stage animatronics and placed a 16-movement Chucky animatronic on the stage, along with some Studio C Beta props. And yeah, that's my complete Chuck E. Cheese animatronic stage tier list. I hope you all enjoyed this video, as it was really fun to make. Like I mentioned earlier, please make sure to go subscribe to my channel to keep us growing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and bye for now.